So we are out the back of the yard that Brupeg is in. We're going to do a bit of a video and take you around, show you all of the boats and the various ideas that we're exposed to. However, I wanted to show you this. Ryan is playing with his toys. So this is how we get our aerial shots. Ryan has a drone. I think it's a Parrot, isn't it?
Yeah, the Parrot Bebop 2. Parrot
Bebop 2. So this thing's pretty cool. It's the first one I've ever really been exposed to, but it's pretty awesome in terms of image stability and stuff. Yeah, we'll get it up in the air. So we're going to do a video as we do a walk around the yard. Ryan's going to basically follow us with this and get some decent aerial shot. Sorry?
I think he's got a hot tub. I think he's got a hot tub on the front deck.
So there's this huge boat just here. It's been in the yard for donkey's years. It pretty much looks abandoned. And you can sort of see all the mould and scum and rubbish. There's windows dropped out of it and all sorts of stuff. Apparently it has a hot tub on the front. So we'll do our walk around. I'll show you from the sky and from down below. So my background is basically doing yacht racing. So I was exposed to heaps of different types of yacht racing when I was a kid. So I got to see keel design, foil design, sail design, boat design, all of that sort of stuff. In fact, I actually started doing started working for a boat designer when I was 12 because I was so into that sort of stuff. Yeah, light reading for me was a massive big thick book about hydrodynamics, so that was always fun. But it gives you an idea. If you look around behind me, you can sort of see there's yachts galore. I'll show you some of the ones over here. You can see there's big old Roberts just here, I think it is, and then just a few sort of, I think it's a Beneteau, or no, it's a Genoa or whatever they call those ones. A couple of sort of cruising boat designs, and then some of the, I think it's all the quarter-ton race boat over there, touch of class 2, and a few more. So I'm going to take you around. I'll take you around and show you some of the boats that we look at for Brupeg. So it doesn't have anything to do with yachts really, but it's a commercial yard where we are, so we get to see a lot of pretty much big heavy old commercial trawlers. We get to see what works, what seems to last, and what's worth copying. So I'll show you some of these boats now. So this big old thing called Moray, this it's basically a boat that's sunk. I think it's sunk about 4 years ago. Similar sort of thing to what happened at Brupeg, except this one they never stripped out because there's a bit of an argument at the moment as to who owns it. It's a long story. You can sort of see that there's windows smashed out, and it's pretty much exactly as it was as they pulled it out of the water. It does seem to happen quite often up this way that boats will go in a flood, or they'll end up on a beach or something like that, and then they just get stripped out and either scrapped, or the very rare case they get basically rebuilt, put back into service, but most of the time they just sort of pulled out onto storage and then flicked off as a project, and that's what we bought Brupeg as. So this boat here is currently, I believe it's currently for sale via the government actually. I think they own it right now. So if somebody wanted a project, this is the type of thing. This is in worse condition than Brupeg was. There's a lot more rust on deck and things like that, but if somebody was handy with a welder and a plasma cutter, it wouldn't take too long to fix most of this up. Gives you an idea of the size. So this boat will be 400 horsepower. They're always limited to 400 horsepower here, but give you an idea of that prop. It's significantly bigger than Brupeg's. That's, God, I don't know, that's probably close to 50 odd inches, maybe 55 inches, something like that. So it's a huge big beast. You can see all the stabilisation that they do, the various types of keel cooling. So I'll show you this actually. So see this here, it's basically C-section that's all the way down and welded to the hull. That's one way of doing keel cooling that's a little bit stronger than external pipes like this here, like what we've got on Brupeg. However, this type of cooling here, they actually replace them all the time here in this yard that we're in, because they actually make the paint come off on the other side. So because you're exposing your hull to hot cold, the paint ends up popping off. So whenever they can, they actually rip those off and put external keel cooling where we are, just because it makes the boats last longer. And as anyone with a steel boat knows, they rust out from the inside out. So this one's got a fairly small, I didn't see this previously, but you see it's had a bit of a wallop on the front there, on the bulb. So I'll come back and do a bit of a shot for you on that one. So that's probably, you could probably pick that up for maybe 5 grand, maybe something like that, to give you an idea. And that's probably a 90-ton boat, probably about 60 odd foot, something like that. There's another little one over here. So again, yachts all around us. There's a wee Steely here. I think this one's 45 feet or 48 feet, something like that. Again, this would be under 10 grand easily. They've lopped the cabin off, so kind of easy for a conversion. You'd probably just want to build a new cabin and you know, make it look quite modern. But structurally, the hull's in pretty good nick. There's nothing really that wrong with this thing. This sunk in the river 3 years ago, I think it was, as well. Same flood that hit Brupeg 4 years ago. But that whole thing needs a real good blast and paint and everything. But a steel boat's in pretty good nick. Yeah, that's probably going to go for, I don't know, bugger all as well. Probably under 5 grand, I imagine this will sell for. I believe it's still got a functioning engine inside it. It's a fairly small boat, so it'd be pretty cheap and economical to push around the water. So it gives you an idea of the type of boats that come out fairly regularly in the yard that we're in. So one of the things that I quite like about this yard is we're located far enough south so that we're outside of most of the tropical cyclone sort of areas. So what they often find is in the southern hemisphere summer, when boats are trying to get out of cyclone season and all that sort of stuff, they'll often pull the boats out of the water and leave them on dry storage here, while the owners, you know, might go back to the northern hemisphere for their work season or whatever and stock the kitty back up. The boats basically get pulled out and put into dry storage and left here for 6 months for the owners to return in the southern hemisphere winter. So we get exposed to some pretty neat looking expedition type cruising yachts. So I'll show you a couple of them now actually. So this is one boat that's come out of the water. It's got a nice, it's not a folding prop, it's a variable pitch, so they can basically feather the props away, the blades away. So it's a pretty stonking big rig on it for, well, I would probably say it's got a heavier rig than what you'd normally have on a boat like this. So it's quite a great thing for, you know, a decent cruising boat. Sorry, there's a big frame here right in the way. Come around this side. So it's an alloy boat. You can sort of see that from the hull there, the unpainted hull. Some pretty serious gear on it, and it looks like it's some nice built-in steps into the dodger there. So that's one boat. I'll flick around and I'll show you this other one. This one here called Grey Pearl. I think it's stunning. Look at that. It's got a fold-up centerboard and then a really well-protected prop and a skeg hung rudder. But I think this is an alloy boat as well. Yeah, drop down keel on it. Yeah. So this is I reckon this is a neat boat. Look at that. Little prod sticking out the front of it and everything. Really lovely big rig on it as well. So these are the types of boats that come out and basically spend the summer here. So we get to see a lot of these sort of ideas. So it's kind of cool. Like, you know, we don't have a yacht obviously, but we can sort of start to see, you know, how other boats are building their foils and doing all sorts of stuff. And yeah, there's some interesting stuff hanging off these. Yeah, that's obvious. The town, it's got a foil. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. There's a slot here to put a foil in. There must be one on the other side. Yeah, there's one there too. That is awesome. I've never seen that before. Cool. Oh, that obviously helps with a bit of directional stability. Lovely big wide transom on it. Yeah. So yeah, it's I think that's awesome. God, if I was having a yacht, I'd have something like that. That's stunning. So there's a few little steel yachts. That one's obviously done a few trips. Some of these more fiberglass sort of cruiser racer styles, and then some of the older cruiser designs. And then there's this really stunning boat over here. Really like this boat. Quite a classic sort of shape. I met the guys that built this. It's actually a steel boat, and then it's all faired up. So I think the shape's really stunning. Fairly small ketch rig on it, so nice easy sails to manage. Big wide beamy thing. Look at that, huge beam on it. Not that it lends a huge amount to Brupeg. We kind of can't really steal too many ideas off that, but still, it's nice to be surrounded by pretty looking boats. So there's one boat up here I want to show you. It's a little wee yacht. Looks like it's sort of been around a bit, little steel thing with the looks of it. But the anchor is what I wanted to show you. So super simple design anchor. You can sort of see that it's basically a flat plate with the roll bar and everything on it. Heaps of the trawlers around here use these, so we're going to do a beefed up version of that basically for our anchor. It's sort of similar to like a Rockner or a Manson or a Spade, but yeah, it's basically a pretty simple brute strength robust anchor that seems to be used on a lot of the trawlers, and is very easy, effective and low cost to produce. So we're going to be building a 110 kg one for Brupeg. So I don't know the name of these boats. It's got Super Maramoo 2000. I don't know a huge amount about them, other than I quite like them. As an ex-racer looking at one of these, it's kind of an efficient, nice looking hull, like sort of an old design obviously, but pretty neat. I like the fact that it's ketch, because then you end up with much smaller sails, so they're easier to manage if you're a cruiser. But I think this is the same type of boat that they use on Delos. I don't know a huge amount about the boat that SV Delos is, but I think from memory that this is the same type. So it gives you an idea of what they look like underneath. This one has a folding three-blade folding propeller. So you can sort of see the prop. It looks like a bit of a shambles, but what it does is it basically spins. You can see that central hub there rotates around, and then the blade alters its pitch so that you can reduce your drag when you're sailing. Yeah, and then obviously it's got wings and so on there to help with a bit of upwind performance. These actually have a bow thruster that drops down out of the bow, which is a kind of a cool thought. I'll show you that. So you got this tiny little slot just here. You can see that. So right underneath the boat, you got this little slot here. It's, I don't know, maybe 14 inches or something long, like maybe 350 mil long. And then that whole thing comes down, and it's like a square panel with a circular cutout with a prop and everything in it and so on. So yeah, it's kind of neat for a yacht to not have, you know, a huge amount of drag like you get when you have a big bow thruster stuck through the front of it. It's a kind of a cool idea. And then they've got a little sounder. You can see obviously there's a transducer of some sort there. There's another couple here, so kind of quite well hidden, nice and flush. Something else here, a bung of some sort. Don't know what that's for. Yeah, so there you go, SV Delos. I think it's the same type of boat. There's our buddy Ryan with his little midget. I do want to show you a boat over here as well, actually. Let me just cruise on through here. So this here, I don't know if you've noticed it yet, there's a stand in a bizarre position. So this boat fell over in our video, The Big Blow. This is the boat that was laying over on its side. If you have a look at the keel, see it's got a slight bend in it. I believe this boat's actually a write-off. Too much structural damage. So yeah, hence it's kind of sitting here as it is. But yeah, it just gives you an idea. It's surprising how little it takes to write a boat like this off. I wouldn't have imagined that it would have been a write-off, but apparently it's not worth fixing. But yeah, I wouldn't have thought it'd be overly hard to fix it, but anyway. So yeah, it gives you an idea. There's from the front, you can sort of see that big wallop in the keel there. Yeah, so yeah, in our video, The Big Blow, this is the boat that toppled over on its side. This gives you an idea of the boatyard. So we've got Brupeg over there, sort of middle of the shot, and beside it we've got a yacht. On the right hand side we've got a yacht that was pulled out after it crashed around on a beach for 5 days in a storm. It's getting repaired. Beside that there's a little white yacht with blue anti-foul. That is an ex-Sydney Hobart race winner. We've got a big old red trawler here. It's a friend of ours. That boat spends 9 months of the year at sea and 3 months of the year parked up doing any maintenance that it needs. And there's another little trawler here. It's more of a bay boat. Spends its time only sort of out at sea 2 or 3 days at a time, but mostly out in the bay. So thanks for joining us on our yard walk. I hope you got a little bit of an idea as to why we enjoy building the boat where we are. We're exposed to a lot of ideas here about different ways of setting up the boat, and we see new boats that are coming in and out all the time, so it's a nice way to keep the ideas fresh. And it also gives you a bit of a snapshot as to what it's like life on Brupeg at the moment. You know, part of the adventure is building it, and yeah, this is our environment that we live in. We have been for the last 18 months. So thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed it.
Hey guys.